There are places around the world so breathtaking that reaching them means accepting real danger. Treacherous cliffside roads, violent seas, active volcanoes, and unforgiving landscapes turn every journey into a true test of courage. Yet it is these extreme conditions that have created some of the most spectacular places on Earth, seen by only a fortunate few. For adventurous travelers, these are more than dangerous destinations. They are unforgettable experiences where every step pushes the limits of human determination. Welcome to Impossible Places, a journey to the world's most dangerous destinations you must visit at least once in a lifetime. Just below Victoria Falls, the Zambezi is anything but calm, as the river is squeezed into Batoka Gorge and throws up Class 5 walls of water in front of the raft. The rafting route runs between Zambia and Zimbabwe, below basalt cliffs more than 328 feet high, at the mouth of the gorge. The challenge begins on shore because the climb back out of Batoka Gorge is compared by organizers to climbing a 70-story building. When the water level drops, paddlers can face all 23 rapids, including many sections rated Class 4 and V. One of the first hits is called Stairway to Heaven, where the raft plunges into fierce white water within the opening miles. The moment the raft bursts out of the foam between two black rock walls has made Batoka Gorge one of Africa's most sought-after rafting journeys. At Fagradalsfjall, the black ground that seems to have gone cold can still hide heat and poisonous gases, turning every step closer to the old lava flow into a risky exploration. The volcanic system on the Reykjanes Peninsula woke up in 2021 after about 6,000 years of silence, opening bright red fissures in the empty valley. The hiking route to the 2021-2022 eruption area is about 3.7 to 5 miles each way, and it usually takes more than 2 hours to reach the lava field. Visitors are strictly forbidden to step onto the black rock because the hardened crust can crack over material that is still hot underneath. At the end of the journey, small lines of people stand before a sea of black lava covering the valley, as if they are looking at the newly formed skin of the earth. In the middle of Zhangjiajie, a 551-foot steel ladder rises straight into open space, where every step makes the ground seem farther below. This Via Ferrata route sits at an elevation of about 4,856 feet, with a cliff below that drops nearly 3,281 feet. Before leaving the ground, visitors must wear helmets, put on harnesses, and stay clipped into the steel cable system under the supervision of guides. The second route also requires climbers to cross a 262-foot cable bridge before moving up the ladder, which is almost at a 90-degree vertical angle. When their feet touch the final rung, the rocky peaks of Zhangjiajie appear below the clouds like a world just unlocked. When the final prayer ended in Tongi, the train returning home almost disappeared under a sea of people clinging to its roof, doors, and locomotive. This scene appears during Bishwa Ijtema, one of the largest Muslim gatherings in the world, held on the banks of the Turag River near the capital, Dhaka. In 2025 alone, Bangladesh Railway arranged 7 pairs of special trains, but the number of people leaving the festival still left many trains packed full. On the roof of the moving carriage, passengers had almost nothing to protect them except their hands gripping the metal edge. Riding on train roofs is so dangerous that the High Court Division of Bangladesh ordered a complete ban in 2022. From a distance, the train no longer looked like a means of transport, but like a wall of people moving along 2 narrow rails. At Hukou, nearly 1,000 feet of the Yellow River's width is forced into a rocky gap less than 100 feet wide, and then the whole river drops as if it has just vanished from the earth. The waterfall lies on the border between Shaanxi and Shanxi provinces, in the section of canyon that tightly squeezes the Yellow River. about 35,000 cubic feet of water per second, can rush over a rock edge more than 66 feet high, carrying silt that turns the entire waterfall a fierce yellow-brown color. Visitors stand on stone platforms close to the water's edge, where the roar of the falls drowns out every sound, and mist constantly covers the viewing railings. When heavy rain pushes the Yellow River into flood season, the waterfall can widen to about 164 feet, and the scenic area has had to close to ensure safety. In the Dolomites, the most frightening path does not run at the foot of the mountains. It is built straight into the cliff face, where a steel cable keeps climbers from falling into open space. This mountain range in northern Italy has 18 peaks rising above 9,843 feet, with sheer rock walls above deep valleys. Many of today's Via Ferrata routes began as iron paths once built to move soldiers and supplies across the front lines during World War I. Climbers must move each carabiner from one anchor point to the next, while their feet have barely enough room on an exposed rock ledge. Heavy rain or a landslide can damage the route, so visitors are advised to check trail conditions before stepping onto it. They still keep going, because at the end of the cable are pale rock towers rising like a giant city in the Alps. In the middle of an Atlantic storm, La Jument disappeared under a huge wall of water, while the lighthouse keeper had only a few seconds to rush out through the door before being swallowed by the sea. The tower, about 157 feet tall, stands on a rocky outcrop nearly 1,000 feet from Wessant Island, in the Iroquois Sea, known for strong currents and fierce storms. The lighthouse keepers once felt the whole structure shake under the force of the waves, which led this kind of isolated offshore lighthouse to be called Hell. Construction lasted from 1904 to 1911 because rough seas often made it impossible for workers to reach the rocky outcrop. La Jument has been automated since 1991, and today visitors come to Uwesen to view the tower from the island's coastal trail or during a boat trip. On stormy days, the lighthouse keeps disappearing behind white foam and then appearing again, as if the Atlantic were trying to tear it from the rock. From a distance, Harihar Fort looks like a solid block of rock with no entrance. Up close, the final path appears as steps that are almost vertical, cut straight into the cliff face. The fort is in Nashik district, Maharashtra, on a rocky peak about 3,676 feet high in the Sahyadri range. Climbers have to slide their fingers into small handholds carved into the rock to pull themselves up the stairway, which is often described as having an incline of nearly 80 degrees. The way down is even more tense because each person has to face the wall and feel for every step, while the deep drop opens up right behind them. Monsoon rains make the moss-covered rock surface slippery, and overcrowding has forced the authorities to set access limits and ban entry after 2 p.m. After passing through the stone gate at the top of the stairs, climbers step onto the flat surface of the fort and see all the green valleys of Maharashtra spread out below. At Angel's Landing, the path narrows to less than 3 feet, where hands must grip steel chains while both sides drop straight down into Zion Canyon. The round-trip hike is 5.4 miles long and forces hikers to climb nearly 1,488 feet of elevation before reaching the final ridge. From Scout Lookout, the chain section stretches about half a mile across sandstone steps, just wide enough for one person to move slowly at a time. Crowds once packed the rock ridge, leading Zion to require permits starting in 2022 to reduce congestion and risk. On April 17th, 2026, a 68-year-old man died after falling from this very chained section of the trail. Beyond the final chain link, hikers stand on a narrow sandstone summit and see the Virgin River winding deep between Zion's red walls. In Madeira's Sea of Clouds, a narrow strip of stone steps crawls along the ridge, leading hikers to a place where the whole island seems to drop straight beneath their feet. This is the PR1 trail, about 4.3 miles long, linking Pico do Arieiro at 5,965 feet with Pico Ruivo at 6,109 feet. Halfway through the route, the light disappears inside tunnels cut through the volcanic rock of the mountain range. Coming out of the darkness, hikers must climb steep stairs, carved directly into the side of Pico das Torres. Fog, rain, or strong winds can cover the path completely and force the authorities to close the route for safety reasons. At the summit of Pico Ruivo, small human figures stand beside the marker for Madeira's highest point, with the ridges they have just left behind in the wind. Reaching the summit of Everest only opens the second half of the nightmare, as climbers must descend back through the death zone with their bodies almost completely drained. The 29,031.7-foot peak forces teams climbing from the Nepal side to cross the Khumbu icefall in the very first days of the journey. Here, aluminum ladders are laid across deep crevices in terrain that is constantly shifting. Above 26,247 feet, the oxygen level is so low that every step slows down and judgment begins to fade. As of the 2026 climbing season, at least 344 people have died on Everest, showing that even the best prepared teams cannot fully control the mountain. After a few minutes standing on the roof of the world, they must turn away from the flag on the summit and follow the footprints down the snow-white mountainside. Trolltunga juts out from the cliff like a stone tongue frozen in the sky, where the last few steps take people out above a lake nearly 2,300 feet below. To reach this rock ledge from Fagradalsfjall, hikers must complete a round trip of nearly 16.8 miles, usually taking 8 to 12 hours. Four iron steps fixed into the rock lead each visitor down onto the jutting ledge, where the lake opens up directly beneath the empty space. Warning signs ask everyone to stand back from the cliff edge, because a fall from this height would leave no chance of survival. After a full day crossing the mountains, the reward lasts only a few minutes. A lone figure standing on the tip of the stone tongue, between the Blue Lake and Norway's giant cliffs. The Futaleufu is as blue as a color-graded river, but a raft can disappear behind a wall of water from Class 5 rapids in just a few seconds. The river begins in Argentina and then cuts through the granite canyons of Chilean Patagonia, carrying a turquoise color from glacial sediment suspended in the water. On the bridge-to-bridge section, about 5.6 miles long, paddlers must get through 12 almost continuous Class 4 rapids. Class 5 rapids, such as Casa de Piedra and Terminator, push the raft into channels squeezed between boulders and white foam-filled whirlpools. Visitors must go down the river with a professional guide and proper safety gear, because the power of the water gives them little time to fix a wrong paddle stroke. The reward after the fierce rapids is the moment when the raft escapes the current and drifts into a wide-open Patagonian valley. In Wuhan, the train does not run on the street, but hangs beneath a steel beam, carrying passengers as they glide through the city, with the ground sliding right below the glass floor. The Optics Valley Line is about 6.5 miles long, has 6 stations, and became China's first commercial suspended railway when it opened in 2023. Large windows and viewing panels under the floor create a 270-degree view, making passengers feel as if they are sitting inside a low-flying train cabin. The train runs fully automatically and can reach a speed of about 37 miles per hour as it moves beneath the track. The journey connects Jufengshan with Longquanshan, carrying the cabin over streets, lakes, and the green spaces of the Optics Valley Ecological Corridor. When the city lights come on, the silver-green body of the train glides above the traffic like a futuristic cabin that has just lifted off the ground. Before dawn, streams of people cross the sea of black sand to stand on the rim of Bromo, where the roar from inside the mountain reminds them that the landscape before their eyes is still alive. This 7,641-foot mountain is the youngest active vent inside the nearly 10-mile-wide Tengger caldera in East Java. Visitors often travel by jeep or ride horses across the ash plain, then climb a steep staircase that leads straight up to the crater rim. From the rocky edge, they look down into a deep pit that constantly releases steam and gas, sometimes turning into columns of ash or sudden explosions. In 2004, a sudden eruption at Bromo killed 2 visitors and injured 5 others near the crater. In the middle of the slope of Huangtengxia mountain, a giant glass ring reaches out from the cliff, taking visitors to a place where the valley opens deep below every step. Three concrete and steel pillars lift the entire walkway away from the mountainside, creating a shape like two giant rackets crossing in mid-air. The transparent floor reveals the forest and the water below, making many people walk close to the railing as they move toward the outermost circle. When night falls, a 551-foot artificial waterfall pours around the glass ring in the light of more than 2,000 lamps, turning the whole structure into a glowing gateway among the mountains. Hidden beneath the Myrtelsjökull glacier, Katla Ice Cave is like a tunnel melting from the inside, where cold blue light passes through layers of black ice stained with volcanic ash. This ice cave is near the town of Vik and was formed in the ice of Trolltunga, an outlet glacier covering the Katla volcano. To get inside, visitors usually have to ride a super jeep across an icy plain and then continue the final stretch on foot with a professional guide. Inside, every step echoes on the slippery ice floor, while black ash streaks trapped between the layers of ice remind visitors that this whole cave lies on an active volcanic system. And that very feeling of stepping into a world half ice and half fire has made Katla one of Iceland's most dangerous yet irresistible destinations. The train slowly crawls along a wooden trestle beside the cliff, but the beauty outside the window hides a route once paid for with the lives of tens of thousands of people. The Burma-Thailand Railway is about 250 miles long, built by the Japanese Army in 1942, 1943, to move troops and supplies during World War II. About 60,000 Allied prisoners of war and nearly 200,000 forced Asian laborers had to cut a path through forests and mountains with human strength and simple tools. Today, passenger trains still run across the Huangtengxia viaduct, where the tracks cling to the cliff and curve above the river. When the sound of iron wheels rings out on the old rails, the tropical forest outside the window always comes together with the memory of those who never saw the first train complete this entire route. As darkness falls over Tanna Island, Mount Yasur tears open the night with glowing red masses of lava shooting up from the roaring crater below the viewer's feet. The volcano is only about 1,184 feet high, but its crater, nearly 1,312 feet wide, has erupted almost continuously since at least 1774. Visitors ride off-road vehicles up the mountainside and then complete a walk of about 15 minutes, but every trip into the area must be led by a licensed guide. Danger appears in every Strombolian explosion when hot rocks, ash, and volcanic gas can be thrown from the vents inside the basin. Yasur is currently listed at Alert Level 2, Major Unrest, with a restricted zone extending 1,969 feet around the boundary of the Permanent Exclusion Area. In the darkness, each explosion lights up the rim of the volcano for only a few seconds before everything sinks back into the dark, waiting for the next roar to rise from the earth. On the slopes of Etna, a mountain hike can be cut short by a blast from the crater as a column of ash rises above groups of people still standing in the middle of the black lava field. This mountain, about 11,000 feet high, on the island of Sicily, is one of the most active volcanoes in the world, with a history of eruptions recorded by people for at least 2,700 years. Visitors can take a cable car and off-road vehicles up to the high area before continuing on foot across slopes covered with volcanic rock. Fresh lava can be between 1,922 and 2,102 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to flow for many miles if the land shape and eruption speed are favorable. From a safe viewing area after dark, a bright red lava flow cuts across the black mountainside, revealing why Etna still draws people back close to one of the most living fire mouths on Earth. In Zhangjiajie, there is a bridge that makes visitors feel as if they are walking straight into empty space, because beneath their feet there is only a clear layer of glass and a deep ravine opened wide below. This bridge crosses the Zhangjiajie Grand Canyon in Hunan Province, hanging about 984 feet above the canyon floor. At about 1,410 feet long and nearly 20 feet wide, it was once considered the world's longest and highest transparent glass-bottom bridge when it opened in 2016. Every step on the glass surface reveals the full view of the cliffs, forest trees, and stream far below, making many people hold tightly to the railing or stop in the middle of the bridge. Standing in the middle of the span, people appear so small that they seem almost suspended between the giant mountain walls of Zhangjiajie. Hukou seems to have never slept. In the middle of Halmahera Island, the mountain suddenly roars and then hurls volcanic rocks through the ash cloud, rolling across the sky. This is one of Indonesia's most persistently active volcanoes, erupting almost continuously since 1933, with frequent ash explosions. Semi-molten volcanic bombs can be thrown hundreds of yards from the vent, turning the area near the crater rim into a place with almost nowhere to take shelter. Even though warning signs and bans have been put up, many people still try to climb into the danger zone to capture images close to the ash column. On May 8, 2026, an eruption pushed ash about 6 miles high and killed 3 climbers inside the restricted area. The 2.5-mile exclusion zone around the crater is now the final boundary between a spectacular site and a place where people no longer have a chance to correct a mistake. Hanging on a rocky spur, almost 9,300 feet high, Gervasutti Bivouac looks like a ship cabin stuck in the sky, where just one slip can turn the search for shelter into a disaster. From Val Ferret, climbers must gain almost 3,900 feet in elevation on a route that can take 6 to 8 hours. Near the final stretch, they must hold on to fixed ropes to cross a steep rocky section above the Fagradalsfjall glacier. The red and white shelter pod, now in place, was brought up the mountain in 2011 to replace the first wooden hut, built in 1948. Inside, there are only 12 sleeping places, with no service staff or full-time caretaker at all. Through the round windows in the early morning, those who spend the night see the glacier filling the whole view just outside the lonely ship cabin. On the Caminito del Rey, a narrow wooden walkway clings to the cliff face like a thread, taking visitors across open air more than 328 feet above the river. The one-way route, nearly 5 miles long, passes through 3 gorges in Malaga and usually takes 3 to 4 hours to complete. The original path was built from 1901 to 1905, allowing workers to move between hydroelectric sites deep inside the Gaitanas Gorge. When the old concrete crumbled and the railings disappeared, 4 people died in 1999 and 2000, forcing the authorities to close the entire route. At the final section, silhouettes of people cross the suspension bridge between 2 sheer rock walls, while the old Caminito appears below like the trace of a path that once allowed no mistakes. On an almost vertical red cliff face, 99 stone steps rise straight toward the sky, making every look down enough to make a climber's legs freeze. The steps cling to red sandstone that was lifted up and then worn down over time, forming the cliffs typical of Zhangjiajie landforms. The steep slope forces visitors to lean toward the mountain and grip the handrail tightly as the open space slowly widens behind them. After stepping past the final stair, climbers stand on the roof of the old fortress and look at layered red cliffs above the river, winding through the valley. Before reaching the meadow at the foot of Nanga Parbat, visitors have to sit in a jeep, crawling along the mountain edge where the road seems as if it could fall off the cliff at any moment. The dirt route, about 9.3 miles long, starts at Raikot Bridge and ends at Tato village in the mountains of Gilgit-Baltistan. The road is so narrow and rough that only local drivers are allowed to carry passengers in special jeeps. On many bends, the wheels roll close to the edge of the abyss, while loose rocks from the mountainside cover the unpaved road surface. On June 1st, 2026, a passenger jeep fell into the Tatu ravine, killing 6 tourists and the driver. At the top of Shilthorn, Piz Gloria stands alone at an elevation of nearly 9,744 feet, where a clear blue sky can turn into blowing snow in only a short time. There is no road leading here, so visitors have to hang through several cable car stages to climb about 6,900 feet from the valley floor. When clouds cover the summit, the cliffs outside the glass disappear, and the whole structure seems to float in an endless white space. On the observation deck, strong winds sweep directly across the railing, while steep mountain slopes drop away just below. Inside, the restaurant completes one rotation in about 45 minutes, bringing more than 200 alpine peaks into view, one after another, around the dining tables. Between Eiger, Monch, and Jungfrau, Piz Gloria lets visitors step into the high mountain world, with only a layer of glass and the cable car system separating them from the harsh environment outside. At Harihar, the ground seems to breathe, as white columns of steam keep rising from the burnt yellow earth beneath visitors' feet. This geothermal field lies at the foot of Namafjall, just east of Lake Mývatn, and within the active volcanic area around Katla. Visitors must stay on the marked paths between the boiling mud pools and active steam vents. Just one step off the path can make the thin crust collapse into water or mud hotter than the boiling point, causing serious burns. Vera still draws people closer, because minerals have stained the whole area in bands of yellow, orange, and grey across a landscape with almost no life. When the wind tears the curtain of steam to one side, each human figure appears small against the smoking ground, as if walking across the surface of another planet. On the top of Monte Rosa, a dark-colored hut clings to a rocky ridge at nearly 15,000 feet, where the entrance appears only after a long journey across ice, snow, and crevasses hidden underfoot. Margarita Hut stands on the summit of Punta Gnafetti at an elevation of 14,941 feet, making it the highest mountain refuge in Europe. The journey usually takes 2 days, with one night spent at a lower station before the climbing group begins the final stage in the early morning. From Mantova Hut, climbers must gain about 3,609 more feet of elevation and cross the Lys Glacier to reach the hut on the summit. At this elevation, headaches, nausea, dizziness, and exhaustion can be signs of altitude sickness, making the body itself a danger before the weather even has time to change. When dawn pours through the windows, those who have arrived see a sea of clouds below the sleeping room and a series of alpine peaks rising from the white horizon. In the middle of Ambrym, a vast area of land collapsed into a caldera nearly 7.5 miles wide, leaving behind a black ash plain where Benbow and Marham still quietly release gas. The caldera formed after a massive eruption about 1900 years ago, and volcanic activity inside it is still regularly recorded today. Around this land of fire are indigenous Ni Vanuatu communities where many villages still maintain customary law, chiefs' ceremonies, and the Rom dance with masks taller than a person. Visitors who want to enter the center of the island must go with a local guide, cross dense forest, and then camp on the Ash Plateau during a journey lasting several days. The Vanuatu Meteorology and Geohazards Department warns that volcanic rocks can fly to the crater rim only seconds after an explosion, while large blocks are powerful enough to pierce even a safety helmet. From villages where ceremonial drums still echo to smoke-covered volcanic craters, Ambrym remains a place where human life exists right on the edge of a volcanic system that has never truly slept.